Today I'm going to share 3 tips. These are 3 things that are really simple to put into place. You don't need any special equipment, whether you have a cell phone or a professional camera or whatever, I guess, recording device of some sort. these are all things that you can take and use right off the bat. So 3 tips, here we go. Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm a photographer and have been for about the past decade. I'm also a mom. One of my passions is making sure to capture and document my family story so that years down the road, my daughter can look back through albums and see what a legacy she has, see what goofball or weird things her family did, look at her old dog, see the adventures that we went on. I feel like capturing your story, sharing your story is really important and is definitely one of my core values. Would you call it a core value? It's one of the things that's most important to me. So what I wanted to do was share some of my tips, some of the things that I've learned over the past decade of being a photographer to help you with photographing your own family so that you can, whether you hire a professional or not, have great, beautiful photos of your children, of your family, and share your story. Tip number 1 is to capture moments, not to try to capture perfection. The moment is the memory. Perfection is great, but in reality, even as a professional, I don't often get perfection. And I have been doing this, like I said, for over a decade. So go for what is actually happening in front of you. I know we all love those like beautiful Christmas card, postcard style photos. And again, those are great, but that usually isn't an actual moment. Usually that's staged. Usually that's really set up, right? It's not an in the moment kind of thing. So tip number 1, capture moments, not perfection. Be there in the moment when your kiddo is doing something crazy or your family member is doing something. I guess not everything is crazy, but when something sweet happens, when something fun happens, capture those moments. Don't worry about making sure everything is perfect. I know that I'm sharing tips to make things better. That's fine when it works, but don't stress about it, right? This tip is really the essence of photography, is to capture what's actually happening so that you can look back and see. So you look back and see the story of the vacation, of the family trip, I guess that's the same thing, of the birthday party, of the day on a Sunday, of your walk in the woods, whatever it is. That's the moment. That's where the life happens, right? Life happens in those in-between moments, not in those perfect stage moments where everybody's stiff. Save that picture. Anyway, so tip number 1, capture moments, not perfection. Tip number 2 is to use natural light. So I know I've got some like light spots on me right now, so do as I say, not as I do. But I've got a really big window right here. So anytime that you have the opportunity to use a natural light source, try to. You don't need direct sun. Actually, direct sun sometimes does some weird stuff, as you're seeing right here. But if you have a window or some sort of natural light source, that's always way better than using flash or using the lights, overhead lights, or anything like that. This kind of light, natural light, is going to give you your best skin tones. It's going to make all the colors look normal and not weird and orangey or washed out or anything like that. So tip number 2, super, super simple, natural light. A little setup for this tip is if you are in a room and you have a window here and you're trying to shoot, okay, so here's my example, right? So here's your room, right? Here's your window, and here's your subject. You want to put yourself on the same side as the window and photograph toward your subject from the window. So you're basically facing, your camera lens is going the same direction as the light is, if that makes sense. So kids here, window here, you're photographing this direction. That's going to get the best light on them, on their faces. It's going to have less shadows. You can always photograph from the other side. Like tip number 1, get the picture. Don't not take it just because you're not on the right side of them. But if you're setting up, or if you're in a room and you want to start taking some photos of your kiddos, put yourself on this side facing them from the light. So this is going to be the side you're photographing on, not this side. All right, tip number 3 is get on their level. If you have little ones, it's easy to photograph them from up here, so we're looking down, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Take the photo. Don't not take the photo just because you're not on their perspective or on their level. But when you get close and you get down with the kids, it's more intimate. It creates such a personal connection. And it's really just, again, it's seeing the world through their eyes. So it gives a better picture. It's just better. Get on their level, see what happens, see what they do. They might just look at you like you're weird, or they might ignore you completely, or who knows. But tip number 3 is to photograph your kids from their level. Photographing on their level makes the photos more intimate, more engaging, and really just more connected, which is the purpose, right? We want to photograph them in their place. We want to catch those moments, those memories. So recap through all the tips. Tip number 1, Focus on capturing moments, not on capturing perfection. Perfection rarely happens. It's better to have the photo than not to, just because it wasn't perfect. Tip number 2, use natural light whenever you can. It's not always available, but when it is, it definitely makes your photos look way better. Tip number 3, photograph your kids on their level. It's just way more fun, and I promise you'll be excited to see the results that you get. What was the time that you wish you would have known how to photograph something better? Or looking back, you wish you had a few extra tips? Tell me in the comments below. I'll make sure to make my future videos based off some of the questions I get in the comments. Also, before you go, hop down into the video description. There's a free guide that I've left for you. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see my upcoming videos. See you soon.